Hello, fabulous friends and fans. Welcome to this frequently asked question video. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. I love your questions, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, my website, nadiyashah.com. So please do keep them coming. Love your curiosity about astrology. And I always try to acknowledge them. Even if I don't always comment or am able to reply personally, I do give it a thumbs up or a like or star, whatever the case may be, just to let you guys know that I am listening and I so appreciate your interactions. This question comes from Facebook, and Linnea asked about quincunxes. How do I interpret them? What do I think about them? So this has to do with aspects, okay? So let me just talk a little bit about aspects. In astrology, there are the traditional aspects. Now, these are the aspects that are listed in the foundational text to Western astrology, which is a text called Tetrabiblos by Ptolemy, and it is about 2,000 years old, a little less than 2,000 years old. So this is something that you can read actually online. You can read the translation online. And in this book, Ptolemy outlines specific aspects. And these are what we call the classic aspects, traditional aspects, Ptolemaic aspects. These are the names that they go by. And they are the square, which is a conversation of tension and motivation. The sextile, which is a conversation that motivates you to take action to create positive outcomes. The trine, which is an easy, harmonious conversation of blessing, an easy flow of energy. The opposition, which is when two planets stand across from each other in the sky, which is sort of as it sounds. It can be like, it can play itself out in relationships where we project one planet onto the other. But ultimately, this has to do with balance. It has to do with balancing two different energies that on the surface seem very opposed, but ultimately are on different ends of the same spectrum. And then there's the conjunction, which is two planets meeting in the sky. So those are the traditional aspects, and I always give them emphasis. I remember so many years ago in a seminar when I was in graduate school, we had so many amazing, really renowned astrologers teaching seminars when I was in graduate school, and one of them was Bernard Eccles. And I remember in his talk, he said that, or rather in the seminar that he led, I remember him saying, and this really made an impact on me, he said, you know, if something is actually happening in somebody's life, then you should be able to see it in the traditional aspects. It should show up there. I mean, really, once you have those basics down, everything else sort of builds on that. And you should be able to see it. Now, there are, because astrology evolves, right? It's a process of responding to whatever culture it finds itself in. And also astrology evolves based on our understanding of ourselves and our place in the cosmos. So the more we learn about ourselves and our potential and the vastness that we can be, the more we come to understand about the sky and how vast the sky is as well. And the more our astrology reflects these understandings. So it is understandable, and it would be, you know, it absolutely makes sense that as astrology evolves, new techniques arise, new interpretations arise, and as part of these new techniques, aspects as well. We come to understand the conversations different planets are having with greater nuance as well, and greater depth. And so the quincunx, I actually did speak about this in my book. It is generally considered a minor aspect. However, it is sort of, I like to think of it as that in that land in between major aspects and minor aspects, okay? The major aspects are the traditional aspects, and then we have major configurations, which I talk about once in a while, which is when a lot of major aspects sort of get together to make an even more major aspect, is a simple way to put it. For example, if we have what's called a trine, an easy flow of energy, when we have three planets involved on different parts of the sky, it makes what we call a grand trine. So we've got three trines happening simultaneously. It's a grand trine. Four squares happening simultaneously. It's a grand cross or a grand square. Now we've got that in-between space between the minor aspects and the major aspects. So the minor aspects are things like semi-squares, semi-sextiles, and so on. There are many minor aspects out there. A quincunx is, so now let me define the quincunx. A quincunx is when two planets are standing across from each other, but they're not in opposition. They're off by one sign. So instead of having two planets across the same spectrum, they're still across from each other, but not in a perfect opposition. They're just thrown off by 30 degrees, if you will, on either side. So they're just thrown off a little bit, just one sign, if you will. And so whereas normally it is the sign that is 7 signs ahead of yours, because there's 12 signs, essentially. And so if you are in the first sign, whatever your sign may be, and if you count forward with your sign being first, the 7th sign that you get to is your opposite sign. Now, we are looking at, with a quincunx, the planet is not in the 7th sign, but it's in the 6th or the 8th sign, okay? So that's technically what we consider a quincunx. It's not exactly the opposite sign, but just one sign off on either side. Quincunxes, again, they're in that in-between space between a major and a minor conversation, which is why I do touch on it a little bit in my book, and I do occasionally use it. However, I personally, and I've made another FAQ video this week that has to do with unaspected planets. If a planet is not having any traditional aspects, but only has a quincunx, I still consider that an unaspected planet. So I'll talk about that in another video published at the same time as this about unaspected planets. But quincunx, this is how to interpret quincunxes. Each planet in the sky represents an aspect of your soul, a drive, a need that your soul has. The sign that that planet is in suggests how that part of your soul is expressed, how that part of your soul is able to be experienced by you. And the aspects speak to how it is that that part of your soul connects with other parts of your soul in order to more fully realize itself, in order to more fully develop, in order for you to more fully honor the needs that that part of your soul has. When two planets are in a quincunx, so these two different parts of your soul, because we're all complex people, we all have different sort of drives and motivations. One part of you, you know, for example, one part of you might want to be with somebody and experience like a carefree kind of romance. Another part of you might want stability and security and a mortgage. And so these are two, you know, very clear-cut different parts of you. Maybe the mortgage, not necessarily related to love. Maybe there's a part of you that wants to live on the road in hotels, and another part of you that wants a mortgage and wants that security of a home. Maybe that's a better example. But these are different parts of you still, and they both in their own way need to be acknowledged and need to be honored. In the same way with the planets, we've got these 10 major planets in the sky, and then depending on your practice, you may also consider asteroids and fixed stars and on and on. But I like to look at the 10 major planets, or 8 planets, 2 luminaries, and I like to look at the needs that they have. When 2 planets are in quincunx, these 2 planets like communicate. They are communicating. They are an aspect, and they communicate in order to help you realize and fulfill the needs of that planet, but they do it in ways that are unexpected and surprising. So these are the keywords where it comes to quincunxes. It's one planet speaking to the other planet, arousing or causing the needs for one of the planets to arise in ways that seem to come out of nowhere, in ways that don't necessarily make sense, in ways that feel like, okay, I kind of need balance, but I don't think this really is about balance. And in ways that can really lend themselves to feeling like, okay, wow, I didn't realize that this is one way I needed this need to be acknowledged. I didn't even realize this need was there. I didn't realize I could use this part of myself to fill this need. So let me give it an example, because examples are always a lot of fun. Let's say you have got, to keep it simple, let's say you've got your sun in the sign of Aries, okay? And you have got your Mars in the sign of Virgo. So it's not in opposition, but it's in the sign of Virgo, so it's in a quincunx, You've got Sun, Quincunx, Mars, okay? So Virgo is 6 signs ahead of the sign of Aries. There's that Quincunx. The Sun represents how you step into yourself in this lifetime. It's you getting in touch with your center, your core. It's you coming into your life, you becoming more self-possessed. So it is you coming to understand how using your will is going to allow you to be more you. So to be more conscious of how you're using your will as a way to express and further embody who you truly understand yourself to be. The Sun is something you step into over the course of this life. Mars has to do with your personal power. It has to do with being deeply honest with yourself and coming to a place of self-knowledge and then exerting yourself in the world from that place. It has to do with passion and attraction, yes, sort of what turns us on, if you will. It also has to do with what drives us and what motivates us on a much deeper, more basic level, on a very early level of maybe even childhood early level. And it has to do with sort of our survival mechanism, right? Like what mechanism do we kick into when it becomes a matter of survival, when the energy isn't so elevated? So here we have your desire to really become you, to really self-actualize. And it sometimes out of nowhere, you've got to say, okay, wow, is my energy being used towards my self-actualization or is it not? Like, how do I actually, feel comfortable and I'm able to react on an immediate level while still being conscious and consciously stepping into who I really am and who I believe myself to be? Now, this is just looking at it from a planetary perspective, a need of the soul, not counting so much the energy of the sign, which becomes a lot more about synthesis and becomes a lot more nuanced and a lot more particular to a certain person. So let's give just one more example. Let's say you have got Venus in one sign, okay? And then 8 signs ahead of you, you have got, let's say, Mars again, right? So Venus is what we believe we deserve. It's how we attract. It is allowing ourselves to receive love, money, softness, pleasure, good times. It is giving ourselves permission to enjoy being a human being. It is being receptive. Mars is active, as I said. It's about, what we immediately react to. It's about how we go after what we want, how we summon our inner warrior. So we are asked to bring these energies together in ways that can sometimes seem to come out of nowhere. So just out of nowhere, it might feel like a situation comes up and we want to go after it, but it's saying, wait a minute, do I deserve this? But I want to take action and I feel so drawn to this. But oh my God, can I actually, not necessarily can I actually do this, but more like, am I able to allow my own intention to allow it to come to me be enough of an action? So that's one way that these energies can tend to play out as well. So with the Quincunx, as I said, I don't give it that strong an emphasis, but it is still another layer, another conversation that can be had, that can help you learn more about yourself as you explore your chart, as you play with the different archetypes, come to understand these different parts of you and how you can utilize them to more fully fulfill your potential in this lifetime. The Quincunx can certainly be one part of that coming to a deeper understanding of who you are and how it is that you can create a life that feels truly representative of the best of you. Well, thank you so much again for your questions. Again, please do keep them coming on social media and through my website, nadiyashah.com. So grateful for this moment with you. Until we connect again, take care.